he normally does videos, that just go out and pretty much straw man us, whether you know it or not, or gaslight us, and then there's really no way to respond because
No, so
he's.
you've never seen my channel ever and have no idea what I do because I
Oh
make
no, no,
academic tutorials.
I have, but your flat Earth stuff
Hmm.
is gaslighting us
Is
essentially. So,
devastating and
well, yeah,
destroys flat Earth
devastating,
easily.
absolutely.
Oh,
So
it
I was
started
wondering, I
big.
was
Straw man.
wondering,
Oh,
Dave,
he says that
Dave,
they think the
listen,
Earth is flat. What a
you know what?
straw man.
I'm with you. Listen, I don't mean to come off that way. Would it be okay to look for some common ground? Can I just ask a couple of quick questions, Dave? You good with that?
Whatever you want to do, man.
Yeah, I'm just for to see if we have any common ground. Do you believe we went to the moon?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you believe that governments are here, especially the American government, for the people's well-being?
It's a pretty complicated question.
Okay, you don't have to answer it. That's fine. That's good. Do you believe that there's censorship going on YouTube?
Yes.
Some stuff is deprioritized in the algorithm. I don't know if that qualifies as censorship.
And is the news here to inform or to fill us with propaganda?
The news is largely propaganda. None of
Right.
that has anything to do with the shape of the Earth. So I don't know what the hell you're even talking about. Literally, none of that has to do with the shape of the Earth. So you're
Shame
really
on
Sean,
off to a
don't-
bad start already.
Just looking for some common ground. That's all.
Oh,
So
if we
Sean-
both don't like the government, therefore the Earth is flat.
I
So
just
so
wanted
the
to
so
get
the
there.
common ground is then we're going to try and keep talking points to 3 minutes each, responses to 2 or 3 minutes each, so we could get through this hour and everyone could get an equal share of the time involved here. And I think the first point that we've got up on the list is, what is gravity?
You want to go first, Dave, or you want me to go?
Oh, okay. This is how we're doing this. Okay, so according to general relativity, it's the curvature of space-time around massive objects. And so this is one of the easiest ways to know that the Earth is a sphere, because everything we see, everything, including the Earth, right, very large, massive objects are crushed into a sphere. That's why stars, planets, moons, everything pretty much is spheres. So you can now go ahead and do your like electric gravity bullshit, and then I'll explain to you why it's stupid.
Well, the question is, does anybody have any scientist or anybody that's ever proven that any of the luminaries we see in the sky are even physical, let alone spheres?
Yeah, we can see them in telescopes.
You can
We
see
can-
them, so you believe that if you see something that'll tell you its shape. So when I look at this, are these spheres?
Oh.
Are these spheres, Dave? Are these spheres?
Yeah, no, I've seen this little trick, and I know the
It's not a
third
little
one from the
trick.
left is flat.
It's
No,
showing you.
see, here's
The
the
third one
problem.
from the left is fat. Dave, let me give me a second, then you can
No,
go.
because I've seen you do this, because I watched 2 of your videos, and you say the same crap in every single one.
Right.
I
But
know
what
what
I'm
these
showing
are. I
you
know
is
what these
you
shapes
don't-
these are.
So how do you know what shape the moon is? How do
Okay,
you know
so
that the moon is even a physical object?
Here-
Because
here's
during a new moon, no one
Yeah,
sees
I
the
get
moon
it.
in the sky.
I know your talking points. So this works because that's not moving. The things in the sky move. So if you take the third one from the left, which I know is flat, and you move it around, it's going to start to change shape, right? If the moon was a flat disk, I don't even know if that's one of your talking points or not. As it passed over you, it would change shape. It would
I don't think the
distort.
moon is a flat disk at all.
Okay, so it doesn't matter though. That's why what you're saying is stupid, because these objects do not move. Now, the other problem is it's not just about shape, it's about other things like composition. Do you know what spectroscopy is?
Yeah, spectroscopy is you can measure gases, but it has to be in a container. Where's the container?
No. Stop. We are looking at light. We're looking at light, and we are understanding about the materials, right? We're understanding the composition of things based on light. So when you start talking about gases, you show me immediately that you don't even know what spectroscopy is. So you do not know the ways in which we figure out things about celestial objects. You literally don't even know the definitions of the words that represent the techniques that we use. So why are you even talking about it?
So my question is, spectroscopy needs to be in a container. Otherwise, you don't know what you're looking
Spectroscopy needs to be in a container. The
to
study
be-
of how light interacts with matter needs to be in a container. What does that mean?
Otherwise, when you're looking at the moon, you don't know what gases you're seeing in between us and the moon.
Gases? The moon is solid. The moon is a solid object.
How do you know that the moon is solid? How come you can't see it during a new moon?
Why can't you see it during a new moon?
Yeah.
Because do you understand how vision works?
Well,
Right? In a new moon, what's happening in a new moon? The
There's no
light from
light.
the sun, the
You-
sun
right.
is illuminating the side of away from us,
So
right? Light illuminates the things that it hits. So a new moon is when the side that the sun is illuminating is the other side away from us. What do
Dave,
you want it to do? The light to go around the moon and come back and
So-
hit the other side like magic?
without interrupting, let me just answer. When we have when it's nighttime, you're away from all lights and there's a full moon, I can read by that moonlight. That moonlight casts
Uh-huh.
a shadow on the ground. Don't interrupt.
Uh-huh.
That casts a shadow on the ground. So that moonlight, which is reflected sunlight off a dusty, dirty, rocky, rock ball in your world, is bright enough to travel 238,000 miles to cast a shadow on the ground and to light up my book so I can read. During a total solar eclipse in your world, the Earth is a full Earth from the moon's point of view. It's bigger and shinier, and it should light up the moon, but it doesn't. And no telescope, no from any position with the
Gee.
infrared or anything has ever seen the moon.
Can you think of why? Can you think of why? Can you think of a much, much brighter object that is right there where the moon is?
well during
The
a
corona of the
total-
sun,
during
which
a-
is thousands of times brighter. What you're doing right now is you're basically saying, I'm going to shine a spotlight directly into your eyes, and then you tell me if you can see a firefly 2 centimeters to the right. Like, what are you talking about? Do you
Dave, what-
seriously not understand this stuff? A child can understand this stuff.
So when you're throwing out words like spectroscopy, what's the difference
Uh-huh.
between spectroscopy and astrospectroscopy?
What do you mean astro? So astro is a prefix that means stars. So if that's even a word, it's spectroscopy pertaining to stars. What are you like Googling stuff furiously over there?
I'm just asking you, I've taken a few notes. I figured out, I watched a few of your videos. I know the straw manning that you're going to try to do and the things that you're going to try to claim. And in reality, an infrared camera, a regular camera from the space station, they should be able to see the sun, the moon either approach the sun, eclipse the sun completely, or exit the sun. And nobody has ever seen it. So again, why are we looking up in the sky? When
Yeah,
we're
I
talking
just
about the
explained.
shape
I
of the
just
Earth?
answered your question. And you just answered it again. You asked a question that I just answered.
Which is
The
that?
sun is very bright, right? Way, way, way brighter than Earthshine. Do you understand that if something very bright, you're looking at something very bright, you can't see something way less bright right
Dave,
next to
when
it?
there's a
What are you not
total-
getting about that?
When there's a total eclipse of the sun and you have the little ring around there, you can block that out so it doesn't blind you and you still can't see it. You know what?
It
Why are we
doesn't block
talking
it
about
out. The
lights in
corona.
sky?
Have
Why
you
are we
never
talking about the
seen an
lights in-
eclipse?
Why are we talking? You can make a fake eclipse, right? By putting a disc in front of the sun and then looking at the corona. And you can do the same thing with the corona. You can block it. Why
and
are
it's
we looking
really
up at
bright.
the lights in the ceiling that determine the shape of the floor?
Because it works really well. It's the easiest way to figure out the shape of the Earth is by looking at the celestial objects in the sky and recording their motion.
One
It's
second,
very,
one-
very
One
easy.
second, Ash. Ash has said we've got to move on to the next talking point, which is space is not as depicted, displayed in media, movies, etc. Flat Earth, Dave, do you want to start with that one?
Ask the question again, please.
Space is not as depicted, displayed in media, movies.
Yeah, I mean, space is they're just giving us images of insanity in space. Like when they show us nebulas, right? They show us this and they tell us this is where stars are born. This is where there's gas and dust, so much of it that it's creating stars and spitting them out like ping pong balls, where they go run away and they park themselves in the rest of the galaxy. This gas and dust in space in a vacuum, in zero pressure, how does that work? How come this doesn't collapse in on itself? This is just a
It does.
fantasy
That's how
painting.
stars are born.
Yeah,
They
so-
do collapse.
Yeah,
It's
so-
how stars form.
Dave, in your world, this is gases are collapsing upon themselves and then
Yeah.
igniting themselves in a vacuum, in a vacuum, and then they
This
burn
is no,
for
no, no.
billions
Stop,
and
stop.
billions of years.
Look, I know that you want to just spew your script without anybody challenging, but you say so many
I have
stupid
no
things.
script, David.
And I'm here to tell you why everything you're saying is stupid. So when you say stars igniting in a vacuum, the reason that's confusing for you is that you think stars are little bonfires
No, I
because
don't.
you're a moron. Because
No,
you don't
you-
understand nuclear
you-
fusion.
you think that
Nuclear
the-
fusion is the process by which stars glow. They're not little fireballs. And
So
you
Dave-
could learn that by Googling something for 5 seconds, but you don't do it.
So Dave, you believe that all the rocky bits turn into perfect balls, and then all of the gases somehow start getting gravity, and they start pulling it together, and they get
Start
so
getting
big.
gravity? What do you
Well,
mean start getting gravity?
how do they grow into stars? How come the dust is accumulating? What's bringing it together? Is somebody propping it
Gravity.
up like a snowball? So it's
Gravity.
gravity. So yeah,
Yeah.
so they get something, and it's a tiny bit of gravity pulls in some more dust. It pulls in not dust, it pulls in gases, and somehow it's pulling all of these gases together and turning into a nuclear furnace that burns for billions of years. I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense. And if you
Okay,
want to believe
so
that,
so
that's your
so
world.
so centuries of brilliant astronomers versus nuh-uh. Is that really all you have? Is the entire field of astronomy and you going, that's I don't like it. That's dumb. I'm dumb and I don't get it. So astronomy is wrong.
Dave,
That's literally your argument against astronomy right now.
you never met these men. You don't know anything about these men other than the stories that the
Yeah,
controllers of this world tell you.
you know they wrote
Aristophanes,
books, right?
well,
You know
so
they wrote books that
so
we can read, and then
but
we base astronomy on that and do astronomy every
Dave,
day,
Dave,
right?
Dave, try not to interrupt. Aristophanes figured out the shadow.
Eratosthenes.
Eratosthenes figured out the diameter, the circumference of the Earth with his sticks and shadows. But
Uh-huh.
nobody in that area that came out of that, other mathematicians, never wrote any books about him. They ignored him. They just never mentioned it, and then all of a sudden it shows up in the 1900s in
Okay,
books that go
well,
into the
that's not
education
true.
system.
I mean, if you're
And
just gonna lie,
wait,
then
wait,
we can
and,
just play the lie game.
and and Dave, what about the fact that that proves nothing? It works perfectly on a flat Earth. Sticks and shadows prove the Earth is flat, and it proves it's a globe. But you'd have to assume parallel rays. Listen to this. Aristophanes believed that parallel rays are coming into Earth, right? And no one has ever seen parallel rays coming into Earth, right? When we look, we always see them curved. We always see them corpuscular. But he also believed that the Earth was geocentric and we had an infinitely far sun. And so that sun is orbiting around a
Infinitely
minuscule,
far? It
well,
wasn't
infinitely far.
infinitely far.
Infinitely far means so far away that the rays come in parallel. And that's a whole nother problem. But how is a distant sun orbiting around a speck Earth in the middle of in the middle of space? That doesn't make sense. And they didn't think about that
What
when they
doesn't make sense? What doesn't make sense about
how
an Earth
how
orbiting a sun? What
no no no
you
no
going that
no, you
doesn't
didn't
make
hear me.
sense isn't an argument.
Dave, stop being a dick. Listen to what I said.
You stop
Because
being a dick.
the Eratosthenes believed that the Earth was geocentric, that the sun orbited us, but the sun was a distant sun. How does a distant, gigantic sun orbit a minuscule speck Earth?
Well, they
Okay?
di-
Yeah, you have no
How
answer for that.
they don't know.
Yeah,
It's the ancient Greeks. They didn't know. Now we know, right? We figured out heliocentrism in like the
Dave,
16th century.
his
So it's
story
like
makes
500 years ago. It's a pretty long time.
his story makes no sense. And the other question is, you believe that the sun rays that come in are parallel, right?
No, there.
Are-
Look, there are rays that are parallel, and then you can point a ray from the edge, one edge of the sun, and the other edge. Look, light is going in all directions, right? Light, the sun is expelling light. They're spherical waves of light, photons in every direction, right? So you can identify parallel rays, and then you can identify one from this edge. And if you want to talk about individual photons, you can draw paths from the edge of the sun going in one direction, the edge of the sun going in the other direction. You're trying to oversimplify things. You're trying to go, oh, it's corpuscular, it's all parallel, and so then this time it works for my talking point, and then another
Dave,
time it doesn't
my,
work for my talking point.
my point is Aristophanes' story doesn't make any sense with a distant sun orbiting a geocentric Earth.
Yeah,
The
if
other
you
problem,
just say it doesn't make sense and stop talking, I guess.
how does a distant sun orbit a geocentric Earth when the Earth is tiny and the sun is gigantic?
Well, it
Work
doesn't.
in your
Long
model.
story short, it
Yeah.
doesn't. But
So
he was
why?
an ancient Greek and he
No.
didn't know heliocentrism. They didn't know when Newton developed Newton's law of universal gravitation, he didn't know why massive objects attract one another, right? He just said, this is what happens, and I have this equation, and we use Newton's equations to do all these incredible calculations that predict the motion of objects on Earth and in space. He didn't know what gravity was. Einstein gave a better explanation. The curvature of space-time are warped around massive objects. We're probably going to get a better model later. Just that we don't know why things happen doesn't mean we can't do science at predictive power. So as
What
it turns
science?
out, Eratosthenes and Ptolemy, the Ptolemaic model, was wrong. Heliocentric model is correct. It doesn't matter that they didn't know that part, or that they didn't know why something happens. Do you not understand how science works?
So if he was wrong and the Earth and the were heliocentric, do you think his experiment proved your globe?
Yeah, it did.
Well,
All of those experiments proved the globe. It just didn't have
absolutely,
anything to do with heliocentrism. It proved
absolutely
the Earth
not.
is a sphere.
Absolutely not, because on a with a local sun in like the flat Earth is, we have no shadow here, and we have a shadow here, and then you could do your math and figure out what the sphericity of this flat plane is, right? That
Okay. So for
doesn't
that
work.
to work, how close is the sun?
How close is the sun?
How
We
close is the sun?
Yeah,
Really close?
the
Like right
sun.
above the clouds, which we'd
The,
be able to see if you went up in a plane or a balloon,
you
and
want to
it'd
hear
be
my
like right
answer?
there? Huh?
Dave, there's tons of videos explaining how the sun is an apparent object, and we all see it in a different position
Oh, there's
wherever
videos
we are.
that say
There,
dumb things,
no,
so
no,
it's
there's
true.
that show science, show experiments, and when you try to triangulate the sun, there's a problem. You can't do it. You can't triangulate the sun. So how far the sun is? Some flat earthers say it's 3,000 miles away. I don't like that answer. The math works. We can scale it and make it
The
6,000
math
miles
works.
away.
You've never done any math in your entire life. You
Hey, hey,
just say
Dave,
the
Dave,
math
stop,
works and
stop
expect
saying,
people to.
stop being a condescending prick. All right, try.
Why
Try
don't
for a
you
few
stop
minutes.
condescending to the entire human race and pretending that every scientist ever is a liar and satanic deceiver? That's much more offensive than me calling you stupid, which you
Dave,
are.
Dave, what is the sun?
What is the sun? It's a star.
It's a star. It's a
It's a
burning.
star.
It's a nuclear furnace that's working perfectly, and it's bending space time where it could hold on to all of the planets that go all the way out to Pluto. Is that your belief?
Well, Pluto's now a
Perfect. All
trans-Neptunian
right.
object,
So we'll go
but
Neptune.
yes,
We'll go all right.
yes.
And then the sun's gravity ignores all of the moons because the moons are attracted to their planets, and it negates the sun.
Mhm.
That's what you believe.
What do you mean negates the sun?
Yeah,
So
negates the sun.
moons. So what you're saying is that like one of Jupiter's
I'm
moons
asking
should go
you.
flying towards the sun.
I'm
Is
not
that what
saying
you're
that.
saying?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm asking you if
Uh
you
huh.
believe that the sun's gravity has no effect on moons.
Yeah, it had. You can calculate. You can see. This is what real scientists and people who understand science can do calculations. So instead of you going, I don't believe it, what you could do is you could take Newton's law of universal gravitation and take a moon, whatever moon, if you want to talk about our moon or one of Mars's or one of Jupiter's or whatever, and you could calculate a number that is the gravitational attraction between the sun and whatever moon you're talking about. And then you could do the same thing for the moon and its parent planet that it is orbiting. Which number do you think is going to be bigger, buddy? Which
And
one do
so
you think is
and
going to be
so
bigger?
and so
The
when we have
planet, the one
when
that it
we
is orbiting
when
around.
we have a planetary alignment where all the planets are lining up, all of that gravity
Hang on.
doesn't
You know what?
doesn't. I'm
Sorry,
asking
sorry,
you a
sorry, sorry.
question.
I would
I'm
like
asking
you
you
to
a
actually
question.
just
Does
address what I just said, because this is what happens is I say something or a flat earth debunker like myself says something that just annihilates the idiotic thing you just said. And then you just gish gallop to another point. I would like you to admit that what you just said is stupid based on what I just said.
Repeat what you said.
I just explained to you why what you said about the sun and the moon is stupid. And
Well,
you just jumped to another talking point.
so you say that the gravity of the planet is holding on to these moons, and
Yeah.
it's so much stronger. Let me
Yeah.
finish. I'm reiterating what you say to show you how stupid it is. It's holding
Uh-huh.
on to the planets, but the sun's gravity, it can hold on to the planets, hold on to distant planets, but can't affect those moons at all.
Can't affect, like I just said, you can do a calculation. Did you want to do the calculation? Do you want to do it
Okay,
together? Do you want to
so
learn something today?
so
It's
so
called
David,
Newton's law of universal gravitation. Do you know what is in the denominator? R squared. It drops off, gravity drops off by the square of the distance. So as things get very, very far away, their gravitational influence is dramatically less, exponentially so. So when you have a moon that is right near a planet, the
Go ahead.
gravitational effect is way more than the faraway sun. Isn't that neat? Isn't that a neat thing that we can do with math and numbers that are real things that scientists do instead of just going, it doesn't make sense, so that's dumb.
you done?
Yeah. What do you got? Do you
I
want to
clo-
address this thing or do you want to jump right to another thing?
I want to jump to something else because you say that the sun's gravity that can hold on to Neptune and Pluto can't
Mhm.
affect the moon, which is way closer to it, and that the Earth's gravity overwhelms that. That's stupid. That's me saying it.
Why?
You're the
All
dumbed
you're
out
saying is
professor.
that's stupid. All you're saying
Well,
is that's stupid.
all
Why?
you're saying is that it works because I could do math, but it doesn't. It doesn't work.
What do you mean it doesn't?
Dave, model it. You You know about the three body problem? I'm sure you know about that.
Oh, the three body problem. So we can't
Hey,
do
Dave,
calculations.
stop being such a condescending prick. We already know. Just talk normal. Have a
Sorry,
discussion.
hang on one second. This is serious. This private chat keeps covering this screen. Can this stop? Why is this doing this? The private chat.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
that, like,
It
be
shouldn't cover
taken
the,
up?
the chat, should it? Just
It
trying to make
keeps-
sure everything's
it's
all right.
covering the whole screen. All right.
Oh,
Anyway, it doesn't
hang
matter.
on. Yes, we're sorting it out. I can't. There seems to be a problem with Sean's. I can't hear you, Sean.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what's going on. I've been watching Sean every now and then, just chatting away, and we've not been hearing him. There's tons of important snippets of information lost forever to the ethers of the internet. How are you guys doing? There's a lot of back and forth, isn't it? It's a very, dare I say it, American debate, isn't it? It's
Oh.
insults and stuff.
Well, here's the thing. I would like to get off of the lights in the sky because I'd rather talk about the shape of the earth.
Because they destroy the flat Earth.
Well, you say that, but the lights in the sky have nothing to do with the flat Earth. or the
Okay,
globe.
so
They-
this
they
was
don't-
my first talking point. Were we going to do the talking points that we prepared? Because my first talking point is about this, and it is an absolute annihilation of flat Earth. That's why you don't want to talk about it. That's why you say, why do we look at the things in the sky to figure out the shape of the Earth? Because that's how we figured it out 2,000 years ago, by looking at the stars. Can I
Dave.
show my slide that,
Yeah, go
that
for it.
shows this?
Go for it.
Okay, here we go. Observation of the stars. Next one. Can you? You're controlling it, right? Do I just tell you when to go? Okay, so if you're in the northern hemisphere looking at the North Pole, then hang on. All this stuff is covering. I can't even see the text. I think I remember what it says. Anyway, if you're looking at the North Pole in the northern hemisphere, the stars rotate counterclockwise. Go to the next one. If you are in the southern hemisphere looking at the South Pole, the stars rotate clockwise. Next one. How does this make sense on a flat Earth? Sorry, this is a screenshot from one of my videos. So in the video, they're rotating in different directions. Why would two people on a flat pizza land look at the sky and see a sky that is rotating in different ways? Next one. And furthermore, why can't we all see the same stars? There are stars that you can only see in the northern towards the northern hemisphere, and stars you can only see in the southern hemisphere. Next one. On a globe, this makes perfect sense. If you're in the northern hemisphere looking at the North Pole, east is to your right. If you are in the southern hemisphere looking at the South Pole, east is to your left. Next one. And the reason we can't see certain stars is because you can't see through the Earth. Next one. That's why in the northern hemisphere we can't see the Southern Cross. That's why in the southern hemisphere we can't see Polaris. Next one. Almost done. Quick one here. So it actually gets a lot worse than that in the southern hemisphere because you've taken a globe and you've unwrapped it. The southern hemisphere makes absolutely no sense. People in the southern hemisphere who are all looking at the Southern Cross are somehow supposed to be, we're believing that they're all looking in completely different directions and seeing the same object often at the same time. Next one. Go to the next slide.
It might be that because Ash is doing this. Oh, has he done it? Has it worked?
Yeah, that's it. I think this is the last one. So again, on a globe, south actually means something. People who are looking south are all looking at the South Pole. They're all looking in the same direction. So that's why they all see the same thing, such as an object like the Southern Cross.
All right, can you go
I
back
think
to
that's
the
the
first-
last one.
Let me go through the
just
slides. Let me
Check
go
if it's the next one.
Yeah.
Check if it's the last one.
And if you can go back to the first one, that would be great. So in your world, we have people standing upside down, and you're assuming hemispheres on a sphere.
What do you mean upside down? What do you mean
Well-
upside down? What does that mean?
Compare their feet are antipodal to my feet. People in the south.
Okay, so yours are upside down compared to them.
I'm-
What's the
well,
difference?
I'm
What's
saying
down on a globe?
I'm not saying. I'm just saying people are upside down to each other halfway across the world.
So
If we can go back to the original slide, so I can remember all the points he made, so I can address them, that would be fantastic.
I think the issue is that Ash, the producer, is having some issues with his internet and isn't able to do it. Sorry about this, guys.
Yeah.
We're usually
Yeah.
quite good with the tech and everything.
So
Yeah.
I'll try to.
I can tell you the points again.
I'd rather just see the points rather than hear you say them again.
Okay.
If I don't know, he can't change it back.
I don't think so. He's in like the Philippines or something mad like that. So he's having some difficulties with it, and I think Sean is as well. Good thing I'm here, saving the day.
Okay, look,
But yeah, what?
it was that
Yeah.
in the northern hemisphere, the celestial sphere rotates counterclockwise. In the
Sure. Okay.
southern
I got it.
hemisphere, it rotates clockwise,
let me
and we
respond.
can't see certain stars.
You don't have to do the whole presentation. You can just remind
That
me
was
what the
it.
slide
Go
was.
ahead.
So no matter where you are in the world, all of the stars, all the lights in the sky from things that we call planets, wandering stars, sun and moon, they all rise in the east, set in the west.
Mhm.
If I'm standing on a flat Earth looking out to the south, the stars are coming from my left. If I'm standing in the north looking at the north, the stars are coming from my right. That explains the opposite direction.
No,
Then
you just explained the globe model. You didn't
no, I
explain
didn't.
anything else.
You don't
How
understand.
on the
It-
flat
it-
Earth, how do people see the sky rotating in different directions?
because
Explain
you're
that.
facing in different directions, David.
What do
If
you mean
all the
facing in
stars,
different directions?
I will explain. If I'm
Wait,
standing
hang
here,
on. Speaking of facing in different directions, Flat Earth Day, because we've changed the angles a bit, you're a bit off the screen. There, that's it. You look
I
good
got
now.
it.
Very,
It would be better if you can make me
Yeah.
widescreen so I can show what I'm showing. But
okay, well there you go. And I'll just say, yeah, Sean's just saying that his thing is freezing, so I guess he'll be back when he can. But for now, you
So-
keep going.
so on a flat Earth, if we have a flat Earth, north is to the center, south is every direction away from the center. So if the stars are going this way from my right shoulder to left shoulder, I'm looking at the North Star, they're going one way. When I turn around and I look at the south away from the center, they're coming from my left shoulder to my right shoulder. They just change directions. Okay, there's no argument there. There's nothing to argue. That works.
Okay, now do clockwise and counterclockwise,
Well, it
because
doesn't
that's really
matter.
what we're talking about. What do you mean it
Again,
doesn't matter? You're
David,
talking about a direction. I'm talking about clockwise versus counterclockwise
And-
when you're looking at the
and Dave,
poles.
the optics
The
of the sky.
poles.
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, you say the poles. So getting back to your point where you have somebody in Santiago, somebody in Johannesburg, and somebody in Australia, when they see the Southern Cross, well, they don't see it at the same time. They see it 12 hours apart from Santiago.
They don't see it at the same time, so
so
people
wait,
looking south can't see the night sky at the same time.
David, if you
Mhm.
understand what the flat Earth model is, if somebody's in Santiago,
You don't have a
and-
model.
listen.
Find a man who wears underwear that makes his huevos rancheros feel good 24/7.
Yeah,
Stop being a dick. Okay.
you stop
If-
being a dick.
if some-
Your entire existence is being a dick to
Hey.
all of science. So stop telling me
keep
to
going,
stop being
keep
a
going,
dick.
Keep going.
Mhm.
So somebody's in Santiago and it's midnight. They're looking at the Southern Cross. Well, somebody in Australia that's looking south, they're looking at the noon sun. You tell me how they can
Noon
see the
sun?
star- the
How
noon
many?
sun.
How many time zones apart are they? Are they 12 time zones apart?
Well, at noon, close to noon, right?
Okay, no, first of all, not close to noon, but it doesn't matter. How about you go 4 hours apart? Why don't you go 4 time zones apart? They should still be looking in completely different directions. 12 midnight, 4 a.m., night sky, both looking south, both can see the Southern Cross. On your pizza world should be looking in completely different directions. Explain that.
Dave, when the only
Mhm.
time that can happen is in Johannesburg and Santiago. And if you add magnetic declination in there, they're both looking in the same direction.
Magnetic declination.
Yeah.
So you think just saying the word magnet is going to be an argument here that's going to work for you?
Look up the magnetic declinations of those areas. You don't know what direction you're facing, right? There's certain areas of Antarctica that the magnetic declination is 170 degrees. So when your compass says north is that way, it's 170 degrees the other way, according to NOAA or whoever's in charge of that, right?
Look, you can dress it up however you want. We're talking about looking this way and looking that way, and they see the same thing. And you're fixating on Santiago and Johannesburg because you think that they're far enough apart that they're not going to both be nighttime. I'm telling you, you can go any distance apart. Just go from Perth to Sydney, right? That's far enough apart that if you're both looking directly south, you're looking in different directions, and you can see the same thing. You cannot explain that. That's why you're trying to throw out jargon to confuse people.
I'm not trying to throw out jargon to confuse people, David.
That's exactly what you're doing.
When you're looking towards the same area. You're looking towards the same area.
But on your pizza world, south is a different direction for every longitude line. Do you not understand that? On your pizza land, right? You have all these longitude lines. Directly south is towards your magic ice wall. Everybody looking south is looking in a different direction.
Magic ice wall.
Yeah. So stop trying to skip to something else. right? Are you denying that longitude lines, everybody on your pizza world is all looking in a completely
Right.
different direction when they
and
look south?
NASA or NOAA, they tell us, what longitude lines you're talking about. They tell us that the magnetic declination is a different direction. So we're listening.
Do
to
they,
the
or are you
different-
just randomly grasping at words to try to make sense of something that is absolutely unexplainable for you?
David, it's not true. And the optics in the sky, again, do not prove the shape of the Earth. You say
Well,
that they
I
do.
just did prove
They-
it with
should-
that, so I don't know what to tell you.
Let's move on.
So
Oh,
I'm sorry,
do you want to
sorry
move
guys.
on? Do you
Sorry
want to
guys,
move on
my entire
from this
system
thing?
crashed.
I want to move on from looking
Can you
at the
hear me,
lights in the sky
Andrew?
to figure out. Yeah, we hear you.
Because I
Come on.
proved the Earth is a sphere by using that. Is that why you want to move on?
No, not at all.
Well,
My sys-
we hear
my
you, we
system
don't
care.
crashed.
It is.
What
though.
talking
Yeah.
point?
We hear
What
you, but we
talking
don't
point?
care.
What talking point are we on right now?
let's-
I just finished proving the Earth is a sphere by looking at stars, something that we've been doing for thousands of years.
Yeah, so says you. Go ahead.
Yeah, and everybody who's ever lived. So NASA isn't gonna really help you with that one. Sorry, buddy. They started in the 1950s.
All right, so we've got a talking point from Dave, which is the Bible has 200 references to the flat Earth. Every major ancient civilization cosmology depicts the Earth as flat.
That's from me or from Dave?
That is
I would
from
never say that.
you, I think.
That's
is
not
that
from
you?
me. That's
Okay.
not from me.
It's from Ash. It's from Ash.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Bible believer, from page 1 in the Bible, it says God separated the waters from the waters and created the firmament. That's all interesting, but I don't use the Bible as science, because science will show us on a ball Earth, Dave.
Yep.
You have to have a physical horizon, right? If my fingernail is a boat, as it goes away, it disappears below a physical horizon, and zooming in will not bring it back. However, we can see too far. They say the ball is 24,901 miles around, but we can see things that are way, way farther. And with infrared, now we're seeing things 500 to 1,000 miles away. The amount of
No,
curvature.
you're not.
Yeah, we
You're
are.
not.
Go look at Jay Tolan Media's channel.
Oh,
It's
go look
amazing.
at some
And-
lies that a flat earther said. That is real evidence.
No,
sure.
it's Dave. It's well documented. You haven't looked at it. And then when you say the curvature formula is a parabola, I absolutely agree. It is. Over 1,000 miles, it gets off a little bit, but anything under 1,000 miles, all three formulas come within a very close proximity of each other.
Yeah,
right?
but the problem is you can't do math, so you just do the math wrong.
Well, you just say that, but if you look at all of the curvature formulas under 1,000 miles, it's perfectly accurate. And then you think that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and we don't feel it, and we're changing, we're changing directions. How is that possible? How about when
Yeah.
the Earth it comes around comes around towards the sun in the winter, in our northern winter, it's speeding up and taking its sharpest turn, and then we don't feel any of those forces.
It's sharpest turn. Okay, so this one's really hilarious to me. So the sun goes around the Earth, the Earth goes around the sun in how long? How long does it take?
A year.
A year, right? So why don't you go ahead and get in a car and do a 360 turn and make it take a year? Are you going to feel that?
Dave, that's not a
Let's
fair-
break it down. 360 degrees, 365 days. That's about a degree a year, right? Why don't you get in a car and drive for 24 hours, and over 24 hours, veer by 1 degree? Are you going to feel that?
That would be equivalent to this. People say, "Oh, I'm just trying to think of the easiest." way
I'm just trying to
describe
think
it."
of something to say
Hey,
that
Dave,
will make
stop.
sense.
Stop being a dick, right? Imagine you want to compare
Oh,
that.
man.
If you want to compare that to reality, imagine you're in an airplane where you remove the outer shell of the airplane, you double the speed of the airplane, and you nosedive 2 miles a minute. Okay,
Oh.
and that just to follow the curve of the Earth. That's the speed that the Earth is curving. And when something's moving and it's curving, that's acceleration. Okay, so
Oh, big
just
words.
this acceleration's a big word. Go
Well,
back to school,
when
Dave.
it is for you, because you're not using it properly.
So,
Acceleration is rate of change in velocity. So you're
well,
using
when
it
you
like it's
when you
velocity.
change
So you
off
don't
of
know
your
what
vector,
acceleration
when
is.
you change off of your vector, that force is equal to acceleration. Okay.
Yeah, but I just told
and
you,
don't-
right? It takes a
Dave,
year to go around the sun. What?
So-
How much are you feeling? Do you want to calculate it? Should we
Dave,
calculate
I'm
it together?
talking about the spin of the Earth. The
Okay.
spin of the Earth. The spin of the Earth. Right. You're
The
dropping
spin
it
of the Earth is constant.
2
We
miles
do
a
not
minute.
feel.
you're falling. Like if you take a point in space and you go for an hour, you're falling at the same rate as a skydiver free falling. Okay, that's ridiculous, right? You are
Yeah,
curving
see,
off of your line of your trajectory.
this
You're
one
curving.
I think I figured out, and I think this one is genuine confusion on your part. So I don't want to hold this one against you as much as other lies you tell, which are just blatant lies. This one is just you not understanding. You're trying to compare motion within the atmosphere of the Earth. So you're like, oh my gosh, something going through the atmosphere so fast and it's crazy and we feel it, versus motion in frictionless space. Do you not understand that that's not the same thing? Right? There's the atmosphere on Earth is very thick. There's a lot of friction, right? So when you try to move through air, there's friction and you
Doesn't
feel
matter.
it.
It doesn't matter.
What
if
do you
that
mean it
air is-
doesn't matter?
if that air is spinning with the Earth, which you have to believe in your model. You would feel
Doesn't
that
matter.
you would feel that motion. If you're in an airplane,
Why would you
move
feel the motion? Why
because
would
you're
you feel the
change-
motion?
Because your energy is changing directions, and you would
Your
have a
energy
force.
is changing
wait,
directions.
Nick,
What about
Nick,
eclipses, guys? What about
hold on,
eclipses?
hold on.
That's
Let's
my
finish- we gotta
third
fin-
talking point. I hope we get to it.
Let's finish this point. Your mainstream science says that because of the spin of the Earth, because of the centrifugal force, that the water bulges at the equator 14 miles high.
What?
This is what Neil deGrasse Tyson and science tells us about the spin of the Earth. The water
it
at the
doesn't.
equator, yes, it does. It
No,
bulges
it
14
doesn't.
miles high. It makes the Earth 29 miles wider
bul-
at the equator.
No. That's the Earth, not the water. What are you talking about? Are you
So-
a moron?
So,
Dude, the radius. This is what happened. You're very confused.
so let me ask you a question.
No, stop, because you just said a very specific number, and I know why you said that number. The diameter of the Earth is about 27 miles greater at the equator. That's the whole Earth. You're trying to pretend that it's all water, that there's just this big thing of
So-
water that's 14 miles. Is that what you're genuinely trying to say? Are you
so
that stupid?
Well, that's what Neil deGrasse Tyson says. But let's
No,
just say,
he didn't say that.
I'll go with you. The Earth is bulging. So does that
Yeah.
mean that large bodies of water at rest near the equator, if you hung a plumb line over it, that it wouldn't be perpendicular to the surface of the water? It would be off just a little bit because of that bulge? Or does
Why-
gravity? Well,
What does
gravity
what does the
gravity's
bulge of
pulling
the equator have to do with the water?
Well, because the gravity pulls everything to the center of the Earth in
Yeah.
your whole world. And if we have a bulge at the equator, a plumb line, which should be vertical, it should be perpendicular to the water, would not be perpendicular to the water because the water
Why?
would be sloping away because we have a bulge.
What do you mean
bulge something
sloping
up.
away? Okay, a bulge isn't. First of all, you're as I just said, this has nothing to do with the water. It's the shape of the Earth itself. So you're just completely wrong anyway. But second of all, what this is the thing with you guys. You think that the curvature of the Earth is supposed to be? You're talking about a plumb line. Do you think that the curvature of the Earth is supposed to be like this or something? Do you have no idea how big the Earth is? Do you not understand that the curvature is not detectable at the surface of the Earth? It's really big.
But
It's
we
a
can see
really
boats
big
go over the
planet.
horizon. We can see boats
Huh?
go over the horizon. We can see boats go over the horizon, but we can't see the curve, right? Dave, according to your math, there's certain things that should be behind a curve at certain distances, but we can
Yeah,
see too
they-
far. We
but
can see
no,
too
but we
far.
can't. You just lie about them. You just
do you
said
mean I
earlier that
lie?
we can see things 1,000 miles away. Are you out of your mind? Everybody should be able to take a telescope then and see something 1,000 miles away. Why
Di-
can't they?
Dave, you don't know where it was taking it from. It's infrared cameras. Go look at JTOL and Media One
Oh.
and watch all of the. He
He's the
documented-
special one. He can do it.
No.
Nobody else can do it.
Actually,
Nobody
no,
else
other-
can
other
get
people
this
can do it.
footage.
So-
Oh, but they don't.
Dave, let me
They,
ask you a
they
question.
just don't because they don't feel like it.
Do you believe that the ground is horizontal?
It's almost perfectly horizontal. Yes.
Okay, are horizontals parallel?
If you
Are
okay,
horizontals parallel? That's a question.
I think what you're trying to ask is if you have parallel planes, right? If you have two flat planes, can they be made parallel? Yes, two flat planes
That's
can be
not what
made
I'm saying.
parallel. Well, what are you saying? Because nobody has
what
any
I'm
clue
saying
what you're
is-
saying.
If you have a horizontal line on Earth, then there's only one point that would be touching the Earth, and the rest would just rise up into space. But all horizontal lines line up with the horizontal horizon. Okay, they're all parallel.
Yeah, do
Right.
they, or do they just look like that because your eyes suck and they can't distinguish between arc seconds of angle?
All right. Well, let me phrase it this way.
Looking like it perfectly overlaps doesn't mean that it perfectly overlaps.
Only
Hey,
got
right,
Right?
10
Just because
minutes
the
left.
horizon
Only
looks flat
10
doesn't
minutes
mean
left.
it's perfectly
Right, the-
flat.
10 minutes left, guys, to move on to eclipses.
10 minutes left. I didn't even get
Oh.
to do I did one of my things.
It
I
could be
gotta-
13 minutes.
Well, my
Let's-
question is, the
let's move
top
on
of the
to
World Trade
eclipses.
Towers, when they were up, are those floors larger than the lower floors? Because for them to be perpendicular, they would have to get larger, right?
How far apart were they? How far apart were the towers?
I don't know, but I'm asking you about one tower.
Okay, but it doesn't look, you're okay. It doesn't matter. We're talking about the distance between the towers or the width of a tower. Do you know how much curvature there is over such a small distance? It is so small that it is 100% negligible. What are you not understanding about that? The
Are
Earth is really big.
So do you believe that horizontal lines are parallel?
If you make them parallel, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about horizontal lines on Earth. When you're, surveying the land and you have a horizontal line, another one, another one, another one, are they parallel?
If you make them parallel, they're not lines, right? They're not actual lines. Do you know that lines are just approximations, right? We can draw lines, we can graph lines and do math in perfect Euclidean geometry. The Earth has a spherical surface. So yeah, we can go, that's a line and that's a line. And if we're just looking at less than a mile, yeah, it looks really straight, but it's not because the Earth is a sphere. So you're not comprehending scale. That's the
Has
problem.
anybody measured curvature in large body of water at rest? Large body of water needs a container to hold it in place. And has anyone measured any curvature on resting water? Don't tell me your drop and your wave, which is in your stupid video that got 10 million views.
Drop and wave? I don't even know what you're talking about.
You talked about water curves. And you showed a drop of
Oh,
water.
yeah. Okay, no, I know what you're talking about.
That is just a complete straw man.
Well,
nonsense.
it's not, but actually, this is what's funniest to me is that you're flatter, you debunk yourself with this level water thing, because the funny thing is that so tides exist, right? And so on your little pizza world, tides are these little mounds of water that kind of travel around. I don't really know how else you're going to explain this, but right, tides exist, right?
Yeah, they do, but they don't correlate to the sun and the moon. There's
Stop.
no,
Stop. No sun and the moon. No sun and moon. There are the water levels go up and down, right? And in different places, not everywhere at the same time, right?
Yeah,
So
but
on your little pizza world, you've got a little hold on. You've got a little mound of water that's just kind of traveling around. So I'm sorry, but water isn't level on your pizza world either.
Dave, what causes your high tides? The moon?
What causes tides? The moon and well, there's solar tides and there's lunar tides.
Right. And so when there's a new moon, which means the sun and the moon are on the same side of the earth, the tide should be bigger, but there's not. There's bigger tides when they're opposing.
It is.
No, they're not.
No, it is.
You're absolutely wrong.
No, I'm not. And you can Google it right now. What are you talking about? When the solar and lunar tides align, that's the highest tide.
Right, guys.
You're just saying it's not because you're just lying.
I'm being pushed by Ash to move on to day/night regions of illumination.
Okay.
Right. What does that mean?
Oh, well, that's my second thing. I can try. I'll do it super fast. I'll do it as fast as possible.
Go on. Do you need him to put the thing up?
Yeah,
he might not be able to do that. Sean, what are you thinking?
The system has crashed. That's why I got kicked off.
I mean, I can try to. I mean, you kind of need the visual, but I mean, I'll wing it if you guys want.
Please wing
We're not going to get the slides. Okay, so
sorry about that.
So this is the funny thing about your pizza world is that in the northern hemisphere things are kind of okay, not really, but in the southern hemisphere it all goes to crap. And so to try to explain night and day and seasons, which you absolutely cannot do, you try to make the sun go way out towards the bottom, and you think that works because it makes it the longer nights, right, up in the north. But the problem is in the southern hemisphere everything is terrible because you've got the sun way out towards the edge. And therefore, it shouldn't be able to illuminate very much of the Earth. But in the southern hemisphere, in like December and January, you've got regions like towards the southern ends of those continents that are almost day almost all day. So you've got 19, 20 hours of daylight. So you've got this sun that's traveling around way out towards the edge, because this is how you like to do it. And it is somehow illuminating almost all of the outer regions of your pizza world, and yet it is somehow not illuminating the center because areas towards the North Pole have 24 hours of night at that time. So unfortunately, you can't do the like Antarctica isn't real, so the South Pole, that's not a thing. These are places where
we
people
don't say
live.
Antarctica is not real. We don't say that at all. You say
No,
that.
you say the South Pole isn't real,
We don't.
even though there's people who go there and work there. And
people work at the South Pole.
yeah,
Yeah, prove it. Okay. So
you can get a job there. Did you know that civilians can get jobs?
So the way it
You
works,
should apply for one. I think that'd be a cool video for you to do.
Dave, on your upside down world, on your ball world, in the north, Norway and northern Alaska, we have the 24-hour sun in June. Okay, and we see the sun, and it's been filmed by millions of people, and you can watch the sun circle around. Makes perfect sense on a ball. Makes perfect sense on flat Earth. We're on the same page there. But 12 months,
Yeah,
6 months later. 6 months later, at equal southern latitudes, you should see the same. But there's no video of the. No, you don't. There's no video of the 24-hour sun. There's 3 or 4 fake videos, clearly fake, taken apart. I'm talking, right? I didn't interrupt you. And there's no 24-hour sun. The sun antarcts away from you. It comes towards you and it goes away.
Okay.
Unlike the Arctic where it's circling around. I'm still talking. Okay. And there's no 24 hours of daylight. But if you add a dome in there, and again, we're looking at the lights in the sky, which is something that doesn't prove either. When you bring the sun closer to the dome, it wraps around, and we could show you this. Get a dome, get a glass, move the light, and you'll see that the light wraps around, and that's exactly what we see in Antarctica.
Okay, so I know that you can do your fun little middle school science project where you have a little, serving tray thing, and you make a flashlight do funny things, but you cannot make it actually. So this is why you have your dumb little app, your little thing, and your sun and stuff. It doesn't actually show the regions of actual daylight and nighttime. It just shows like a little cartoon. You don't actually see, it doesn't actually do these patterns. So when you're called out on this, instead of going, oh, my app shows the actual patterns and this crazy arc that would make sense. So first of all, I'm sorry, even though there are videos at the South Pole, I'm sorry that Antarctica is not where a bunch of people live. So we don't have all of these videos like we do way up towards the North Pole. But again, as I said, the way southern region of Argentina, like I did in my video, Ushuaia or whatever it's called.
Which cartoon do you like the best showing Antarctica?
What do you mean, which cartoon?
Which cartoon? There's no pictures of Antarctica from space.
Okay, well, there are, so that's really dumb. But
No,
let me
there's not.
continue demolishing. Okay, stop. I'm going to continue demolishing the idiotic thing you just said earlier. So you can do your little thing. Flat Earthers love to do their little middle school science projects. So okay, you've got the thing and blah, blah, blah. So why can't your Flat Earth app do it? Why can't you actually show the regions of day and night? Why can't you look at that and go, yeah, look at that. I see the light illuminating this part of the Flat Earth. Right, and I can see that we have 20 hours of sunlight in southern Argentina, and I can see that you just have a little cartoon doing nonsense, and then all of your idiot people who buy that thing, they're not like, oh, that looks cool, and they don't actually look at what it does at all, right? Why can't you have it show that, right?
It shows pretty accurately the amount of day and night, but I can't
No, it
show it.
doesn't.
Well, I can't show it because if on the latitude line that you're on, it's different where you are. So I have to kind of blend them together. It's just a tool to show
The amount of day and night depends. The amount of day and night that objectively happens in a place depends on your latitude.
Absolutely, 100% on your ball too. When I'm in the north,
I don't
in
think
the
you
winter,
understand. I don't think you understand what I just said.
No, you don't understand what I just said.
No, I definitely know that you're not saying anything. I'm saying that in that town in Argentina, there is an objective time where the sun rises and sets.
Yes,
and
but
where you are doesn't change that.
There's no place that you have 17 hours of sun. You have daylight. Daylight is the illumination of the sky. It's not the sun.
From the sun.
No, the sun is.
You're saying that daylight is not from the sun?
Absolutely. So if the sun
where is it from?
If the sun
What's
rises,
making the sunlight then?
No. The sun is lighting up the sky. It's like a photographer. You have your main light, and then you have your backlight. The sky is the daylight. When the sun is on the east side of your house, right on the horizon, go to the back side of your house. You can read the newspaper. Well, where's that? That sunlight's not. What's it going through your house? It's lighting up the sky.
It's scattered by atmospheric particles.
That's what
it's
you
still
say.
sunlight.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you say to say a
Well,
thing
well,
that
Dave,
explains
how
why what
come-
I just said
how
is
come-
stupid, and I have
how
no
come-
way to combat it.
How come nobody has filmed the 24-hour sun in Antarctica?
They have. You
I mean-
just say it's a lie.
Show us,
They
show-
have, and
bring
you
it,
just go,
bring it.
"Oh, that's fake."
No, we don't. We don't just go, "Oh, that's fake." We
But
show
guess
you how
what?
it's fake.
That's why in my video I don't talk about Antarctica, because you just say it's fake. That's why I picked southern Argentina, because people live there and they have 19 hours of daylight, and you can't explain it because it's this
I did
huge.
explain it. You
we-
can't
no, you didn't.
understand
You
it.
just said there's a
Absolutely.
glass thing in the flashlight. You're just
Right.
doing a middle school science project. You're not actually explaining anything. You're just going, "Oh, I did a thing in my living room, so all of science is wrong." That's what you're doing.
You don't.
The globe. I wish I had this slide, because the
again,
globe.
Dave, the optics of the sky are no way to prove the shape of the Earth. You can.
Well,
can,
they are,
Yeah. Well,
and
that's
I
in
just
your
did it
world.
twice.
Yeah. Well,
And
keep-
you have no
keep
way to
claiming
combat
it.
anything I just
Keep-
said, so that's
keep
why you
claiming it.
say that thing over
Can I
and
just
over again.
interrupt here? Flat Earth, Dave. What would it take? Because I think Dave is saying that people live in Ushuaia and that they have this, and you could just go and ask the people though. You could go. What would it take to convince you? And how important is it? Why is it important to you to hold this belief? What does it mean to you?
It's not important to hold the belief. I'm looking for the truth. And if the globe was true, then when in Antarctica in December, you should be able to see the sun circle all the way around without dropping.
And you do.
You can.
Dave,
I've seen
no,
loads of documentaries where that happens.
You can't. You cannot see it. It's absolutely untrue. And we show the best one that they have. They show it 24 hours of the sun going around. And when it comes around, not only is it the same clouds, the sun is in a completely different position, like months different position. So it's all camera trickery, and it's provable. It's not just us saying it. So when you watch
No,
thing,
it
you're
is
like,
just
"Oh,
you saying it.
Yeah, well, not true. And do some research,
Yeah.
Dave, and then get out of your little ball model, and you'll see. We don't live upside down on a space ball flying through an infrared
Down
space
is towards
vacuum.
the center of the earth. Nobody is upside down. That's one of the dumbest things you morons say. Down is towards the center of the earth. Nobody
Yeah.
is upside
So
down.
on your world, there's people upside down relative to me.
And you're upside down relative to them. It's a
Yeah,
sphere. Who
Good luck
cares?
with that. Good luck with that.
Your response
that.
to basic shapes is good luck with that.
Yeah.
Are you 5 years old? You have the intellect of a 5-year-old. You can't understand,
Hey,
like little
Dave,
kids understand this stuff. You know
I
that?
just want to say that you're more of a condescending prick than I thought.
I wouldn't say you're more than anything I thought. I know what you are, but I'm sorry again to reiterate for the third time. Your entire identity is based on the idea that all the scientists in the entire world
Nope.
are lying deceivers. So
absolutely not true.
you're a condescending
That's what
douchebag.
you say.
And me
That's what
calling you
say.
stupid, which you are, does not hold a candle to
all right,
what
Sean.
you are.
That's what he claims. I don't believe that. And
Wait,
that's what
I've
you're
got
believing.
another question for other Dave,
Oh.
Professor Dave.
Yeah.
Just so obviously I can see. I mean, it means a lot to you as on the other side, of course. Why does it annoy you so much, the flat Earth stuff?
Because it's so, I mean, first of all, a lot of what I do, I do mainly academic tutorials, but I also address misinformation. I'm very passionate about public science literacy and science denial. And flat Earth is the bottom of the barrel. So I go after like anti-vaxxers and stuff like that. And that is a little more sophisticated. And you have to actually understand a little bit of biochemistry, a little bit of immunology and things like that. Flat Earth is the only one. I just proved the Earth is a sphere multiple times in this exchange based on looking at things in the sky and thinking. That's
Dave,
how we figured out the Earth is a sphere several thousand years ago. It's like the first thing we figured out.
Dave,
So
that's a-
this is
that's-
why it's so offensive, because it is a denial of literally all of science. Astronomy, all wrong. Geology, all wrong. Physics, all wrong. It's so unbelievably offensive to the entire human race. That's why you're a douchebag, and me calling you stupid is nowhere near the magnitude of douchebaggery that is your entire identity.
You're talking to
So-
him, not me, right?
Sorry,
No.
yeah, to Davey boy over there.
So he believes that scientists that he never met 2,000 years ago proved that the Earth is a globe, when in reality, in the 1940s and 50s and up to the early 60s, they were still teaching flat Earth in public school here.
No, they
Absolutely.
weren't. That's just the
Absolutely.
thing you're saying.
That's an
There's
absolute-
globes from hundreds and hundreds of years ago. You can't just say that. Like,
Yeah.
you should show me something. Show me a textbook. You can't just say, "Oh, this thing I made up is true." You're an idiot. What are you talking about? We've known the Ptolemaic model, which was reigned supreme from like 100 or whatever, to the Copernican model, used a spherical Earth. Geocentrism uses a spherical Earth, and then Copernicus and Kepler happened, and they wrote books. By the way, they wrote books, and you can read them. That they exist.
Can I
And
ask
we've
a-
known about heliocentrism for 500 years since. So I don't know what you're talking about. You are completely pulling that out of your ass. Nobody taught a flat Earth anywhere for
Can we-
any measurable amount of time.
Can we have Dave tell us how seasons happen on the globe?
Okay. So I wish I had the graphic because it really works really well. So there's a tilt in Earth's rotational axis, right? It's tilted like this. So one of the hemispheres is exposing more of itself to the sun, right? And so you get more direct light versus, so let's say this is the northern hemisphere, this is the southern hemisphere. More of the northern hemisphere is exposed to direct sunlight, so you have longer daylight, right? So it's so hard to just do in my hand like this.
No, I get it.
But-
I understand. You get it when we're tilted towards it, the sunlight's hitting direct, and it's more intensified here, and down here it's spread out more. Makes sense. I
Yeah,
got it.
because of the curvature, so it has
I
to
got it.
spread out
So
around
it's-
a
it's
greater
spread out
area.
more. But isn't the sun so large that all of the rays leaving the sun are parallel? And why wouldn't the parallel rays that are a little off to the left, hit us direct? Are the rays leaving the sun parallel, or are they leaving not parallel?
Okay, when you have a certain okay, here's a lateral distance. If the sun is directly hitting the part of the Earth that's directly facing it, that's a certain area. Then if you move this way, we have the same lateral distance, but there's a lot of curvature here. It's covering a greater surface area.
So I have to ask a
Right?
question. So can the Earth can
Okay,
be
do you
tilted-
want to admit that I just explained that perfectly and that your
I-
talking point was invalid?
I know. I admit that you explained that perfectly, but I have to
Okay,
ask
great.
a question. So we have the pole here, and we tilt the Earth.
Mhm.
Okay. And can you tilt the Earth this way? That's a tilt, also, right? Absolutely.
What?
If we're-
You're
if-
just
no,
turning it. What are you doing?
No. What I'm showing you is here. Here, let's say the sun is over there, and we tilt, and we're now directly towards we have a more direct angle. We're in
Mhm.
agreement on this. But if I'm here and I tilt it this way, well, now the sun is lower. It's now skimming. It's now skimming, and it's not hitting as direct. So here's the problem with your seasons. In the north here, in December, when we're 3 million miles closer to the sun, but we'll just ignore that because it's not significant.
Yeah, it's
Um,
not
It's
significant,
not
so I don't know
significant.
why you said it.
Well, we're 3 million miles closer. At sunrise, in December at noon, when the sun is 50 degrees in the sky, and I look at the sun, I can barely feel it on my face. I can't get a tan, right? But in June, when we're farther away from the sun, doesn't matter. And at sunrise, when the sun is literally an 89-degree tilt, the worst possible angle, as soon as it shows up on the horizon, I can feel the heat and I can get a tan. Why is that? Because in your world, it should be arctically freezing every morning all year long.
I
your
genuinely
world.
have no idea what you're saying. You're throwing
Yeah,
around
you-
89-degree. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, so you have the sun here, right? The sun, and we're tilted, so it's 34-degree tilt. Well, if I tilted it all the way down to the horizon, so I'm here and the sun's over here, okay, that's an 89-degree tilt, 1 degree off the horizon, right? Any farther it would be below the horizon. The sun
I'm
sets.
already lost. I have no idea what you're saying.
It's because you're stupid, Dave. Right?
5 minutes
No,
left,
it's
guys.
because you're
5
not
minutes.
saying anything.
I will
You're just
explain
going,
it
if I
again.
tilt it
I
this
will
way, this
explain
has
it again.
nothing to do with anything.
If the Earth is tilted 34 degrees, that's how we are.
23 degrees, something like
23 degrees, whatever. If we tilted it 90 degrees, the sun would set. It would set over the pole, which doesn't happen. So the farther,
5 minutes left, guys. 5 minutes
the
left.
the farther I tilt it, the more spread out those rays are. Well, the spin is the equivalent to the tilt. So when I'm spinning away from the sun's getting lower and lower and lower. It's spreading out across the world. It should get colder and colder and colder because that sun is
What do
spreading
you
out.
mean spreading across? You understand that there's always a face of the Earth. There's always the sun is always is hitting half of the Earth.
Not according to time and date. All right, but
The
that's a
sun
whole nother-
isn't always hitting half of the Earth.
on the ball. It would be, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's not
Well,
what
it
we see.
does
But
though.
here's
So
the
what are
thing,
you talking about?
David. you're not listening. Okay.
I
can
am. You're
tilt-
just
I
not
can
saying
tilt-
anything.
I can tilt. So if we're tilted away from the sun, we have our winter. Now I tilted farther, it gets really cold because Antarctica or the Arctic is tilted farther away. That's why it's cold in your world, right?
But it's
In-
not. What do you mean? If we tilt it further, it's not tilted further. It's a 23-degree
right.
axial
And-
tilt.
and-
So what
and
do you
why-
mean
and
tilted further? What are you
why
talking
is it,
about?
Why is it colder in the Arctic in the winter than it is in Florida in the winter?
I just explained it earlier.
Oh, I know, Dave.
It's getting more direct sunlight.
Absolutely. So don't interrupt.
Hang on. If
So,
if the axis
Dave.
is tilted away, then it is. Dude, I just
Dave,
explained this.
Dave.
How do you not get this?
no. You're not getting it. Listen.
Okay,
So
you can just
if-
say that, but I actually
no,
explained it.
You're not getting this. Okay.
Dave,
No,
Dave, Dave,
no,
we've
hold
run out.
on.
Dave, we've
I-
run out of time. We've run out of time.
I'm filming this.
Well,
Listen.
I'm just going to let you guys tell the viewers where they can find you and support you. So, Professor Dave, we'll start with
Dave,
you.
you
Huge
don't
thank
get
you
it.
for coming on, Professor Dave.
Thank you.
Can you tell the viewers where they can find and support you, please?
Professor Dave
FlatEarthDave.com.
explains. Oh, sorry.
FlatEarthDave.com.
So, Professor Dave, go on. And what socials are you on, Professor Dave?
Just YouTube channel, Professor Dave explains.
All right. So, Professor Dave's YouTube channel link will be in the description box below this video if you want to subscribe, if you want to check his stuff out. Huge thank you for coming on. Flat Earth Dave, do you want to tell the viewers where they can find you?
You can find me at FlatEarthDave.com, but I'm thinking of making it ProfessorFlatEarthDave.com. But FlatEarthDave.com because
Isn't that cute?
we get to make up to being professors. That's always nice.
Yeah, I actually
Flat
taught at an accredited
FlatEarthTave.com.
university, though, so it's
But
not
without a
that
degree,
weird.
Thank you.
without a degree,
Thank
and
you,
they
guys.
fired you.
Thank you,
Multiple
guys.
degrees. I have a
And then
master's
they-
degree.
And they fired you.
We've
Dave,
got another
can I
debate.
get those bitcoins? Can I get those bitcoins?
You
We've
didn't
got
prove the
another
globe.
debate. We've got another debate coming up in
All
a
right,
minute.
I-
So
See you
huge thank you
guys.
guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
Take care, and you
All right, bye,
always
buddy.
welcome to come back on. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Cheers.
All right.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Bye.
A gentleman's balls are a beautiful, delicate man fruit. As such,
Hello, puppies and kittens. Welcome to another episode of Matter of Fact Science, where we interview professional science and scientists, science communicators, science educators. And our guest tonight, I happened across when I was exploring the flat Earth phenomenon, trying to find out why are people so damn dumb. And I happened across a number of videos expertly done by a guy calling himself Professor Dave, though not actually a professor. It's just a YouTube channel. But yeah, he has actual science accolades, and his channel is dedicated to teaching science. And I was very impressed with the content that I saw there. He's also recently published a book, or is about to publish a book, is about to be released. And so we decided that we were going to talk about that. And my lovely wife, Lilandra, it will be joining us tonight. She is going to orchestrate some questions, as this the Matter of Fact Science project is kind of her brainchild, and so I let her lead with that. Lilandra, take it away, please.
Okay. Hi, Dave.
Hi.
Let's talk about your book first.
Absolutely.
Let's introduce him, sir. Yeah, that's my mistake. This is Dave Farina.
Okay.
My mistake in not even mentioning the name.
Okay. Is this Wi-Fi organic? What inspired you to write this book?
So I've always been really fascinated with the way the public perceives science, and in particular the broader pseudoscientific trends that they engage in. Not even necessarily pseudoscience, but even just the way the public has the capacity to maybe misunderstand basic scientific terminology. So I wanted to write a book where I address some of this confusion, try to define some terms in a very clear way, provide some of the background, so some basic lessons in chemistry, biochemistry, biology, physics, and then apply them to what we see in society. So some social commentary. Here is something that the public seems to be confused about. Let's diagnose it. Let's talk about it. Here is a fad, a pseudoscientific fad that is popular in our society. Let's see what makes it tick and see if we can deconstruct it and deflate it. So that's what the book is about.
My
Okay.
wife and I both gave speeches at the Houston Museum of Natural Science once upon a time when we were addressing the fact that Ken Ham of Answers in Genesis was the keynote speaker that year for the Texas Homeschoolers Association. We were very upset about that. And part of the speeches that she and I gave covered a number of topics that are here in Texas. They're called Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, or TEKS, TEKS. And a number of these things we were having to do with biology and geology, and then cover things like deep time and that sort of thing. And all of these are required, right, by our state, by the State Board of Education and everything. But nobody in our audience of a couple of hundred people in that museum, all of whom had gone to school in Texas, nobody had been taught those things in Texas. And that's in the public schools where they try to avoid all this. So it's bothersome, the hold that pseudoscience has on actual or legitimate science education, preventing teachers from even teaching what is real.
That's true. I mean, I think it's a dual issue, though. It's the influence that pseudoscience has, and then also just the deficit of the current public education system. Some people, I mean, given that we are, for the most part, all required to take a year of biology, a year of chemistry, and so forth in high school, or at least I know that I was, it's alarming the percentage of people, the percentage of the adult population that does not, is not able to discuss these basic principles of chemistry and biology and so forth, even though many of them probably did learn them when they were 14, 15 years old. So just the lack of retention, I think that is, so these are two main issues that have resulted in a largely science illiterate adult population, at least in America, and in other countries too. But you know, being an American, that's what I notice certainly.
Okay. Let's get back to your book. Like, what are some of the most common things that you found Americans and people in general, I suppose, because I guess we're studying the standard here, but that annoy you or provoked you to write this book?
So probably if I had to choose one central theme of the book, though there are several, the one that stands out to me is chemophobia. And so chemophobia is exhibited by the broader public in the sense that there is just a general distrust of chemicals or chemical sounding things. So it's interesting to think about why this fear of chemicals has come about, given that basically everything that we see is a chemical, right? Anything made out of the chemical elements on the periodic table is could be adequately called a chemical. So I think it's just that when we discuss chemicals, we're usually talking about harmful chemicals because we want to avoid them. So that negative connotation was sort of implanted onto the word. And so now when people hear chemical, they think bad. And so this is what leads the alt health industry to exploit this confusion and say, oh, there are no chemicals in this product. It's like, well, no, it's literally nothing but chemicals. That's a bald-faced lie. So and then piggybacking off of that, there is a lot of confusion regarding words like natural and synthetic. So people have this connotation: natural, good, right? Sunny meadow; synthetic, bad. Bad man in a hazmat suit with a barrel of toxic green goo, right? These are very common connotations. A lot of people think that way, but of course this betrays what these words mean, right? Synthetic in the molecular world just means a molecule that we made. So molecules, nature builds molecules, humans build molecules, and if you build a molecule, that's it. The properties of that molecule have nothing to do with how the molecule came to be. It's just some atoms arranged in a certain way, and it has the properties of that molecule. So I think that an alarming percentage of the population does not understand that the natural and synthetic counterparts of a particular molecule are identical in every way conceivable. And this is just, it's absolutely not up for discussion. This is, if that were not true, chemistry could not exist as we know it. So so that's definitely one thing that I focus on for about a chapter or two in the book.
Do you go into GMO food versus natural food, you know?
Yes, I do go into GMOs briefly. I don't go too deeply into it because it deserves a whole book unto itself, and I'm not necessarily an expert in all of the sort of the politics of it and the industrial side of it. But I talk about it more in the context of genetic engineering and trying to help people understand basic biology and DNA replication and transcription and translation and just these basic processes so that they can not think of genetic modification as like this Frankenstein's laboratory type thing. Yeah, it's just a basic fear-based response. So yeah, and then that piggybacks into the organic craze. So there's sort of the degree to which people fear having science in their food is such that the sort of the organic industry has capitalized on it to the point where almost every product you find in the grocery store is sort of marketed with this. There's no science in here. There's nothing bad in here. We didn't add anything in here. There's no nasty toxic chemicals in here, which is fine. But the problem is the degree to which it's misleading. Like I've literally seen products like non-GMO salt. How does that make any sense, right? It's not.
So it's not sodium chloride. It's synthetic sodium chloride.
No, not even that. I mean, not genetically modified. I mean, it's there are no genes. It's not a living organism. So it's not a lie, but it's just completely meaningless. And yet this has an impact on the behavior of consumers,
Do you know if the FDA defines organic? And
yeah,
organic means something whatever anybody can put organic on their food.
Sure. Well, I mean, so in terms of produce, it is well defined. It's just that it turns out to be pretty much meaningless. So what people think is that it means, I mean, some people think it means chemical free, which is ridiculous because food is nothing but chemicals. Some people think that produce that is organic is grown without pesticides. This is not true. All produce, all farmers use pesticides, and the whole point, the irony of that misconception is that when we utilize genetic modification, we can give crops an inborn, an innate protection to some kind of pest, right? Which allows us to use fewer pesticides, right? Fewer in number and lower quantities of pesticides. So GMO crops utilize fewer pesticides, so in actuality, organic is referring to the natural versus synthetic status of pesticides. But the problem is naturally occurring pesticides are just as toxic, if not more, than synthetic pesticides, and they're generally not as well regulated even as synthetic pesticides. So it does have a rigid meaning, and there are qualifications that you have to pass to be able to label something as organic. But it turns out that it really doesn't mean anything in terms of produce. It just doesn't.
Along these lines.
Welcome to Professor Dave Explains. I'm Dave, and this channel is for learning. There are a lot of YouTube channels.
I can turn anyone into a beach bum.
All right, we are live, Myth Vision podcast. I hope you're having a wonderful week. It's Monday. Looking forward for that Friday. Today I have Dave Farina joining me here on Myth Vision, and he has the YouTube channel Professor Dave Explains. Make sure you go subscribe, hit the bell so everybody's notified every time he drops a new video. If you want to keep up with a lot of the science that's on, specifically chemistry, if I'm not mistaken, Dave.
Dozens of topics. Yeah, a lot of chemistry.
lot of chemistry, but you've dealt with flat Earth. Maybe we'll get you to come out of retirement on that. You kind of slam dunked the whole idea, but I'd love to have you come back to talk about that.
Maybe
And
one day, yeah.
a lot of pseudo-scientific stuff is like, it seems to be your aim and goals to like show, no, that doesn't make sense. Here's why. And you go and explain with visuals, et cetera, et cetera. Also, you have a Patreon. So if anyone who is watching enjoys what you hear today and you want to help support him, go over there and join. There's various amounts you could join at. It helps him do what he does and continue to teaching people. He also, teaches classes too. So if you want to take online courses, you have that as well, right?
I mean, not in the flesh. I mean, I've done courses for other platforms recently. Emil, yeah, I've made courses. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. So there's options there as well. You can reach out. We have the Patreon as well. Always dropping something new, staying hot, and the controversy never ends here. There's always some fundamentalist, whether Christian, Muslim, you name it, doesn't matter, Jew, that's always trying to, push an idea. And eventually maybe we'll get into Hinduism and deal with the fundamentalism in that arena and show why they're all man-made. With that being said, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back. I appreciate it, man. First
Sure.
time we had this, we talked about abiogenesis. 90% of the words that you use, I literally don't even know what they mean. I'm not even not like saying that to be like, but very complicated discussion. It's not simple. I emailed a few of the scientists you invited on when you did your response to James Tour, waiting for a response, but I'm afraid they're probably going to speak a foreign language as well.
Yeah, it's not trivial stuff, I mean, it's pretty heady.
It is. So a little bit about your background, so people know like where you're coming from. Tell us, were you once a Christian? I don't know if we touched on this before. Like, were you?
I don't think we did. No, I've never been religious in any way, shape, or form. I was brought up in a complete vacuum of religion. So much so that when I was, 5 or 6 and starting to go to school and started hearing people go, oh, Jesus, this, Jesus, I was just like, what are you talking about? Religion has never, ever, ever seemed to me to be any different from other mythology. Like I regard Christian mythology the same way as I regard like Greek mythology. Like I grew up really adoring Greek mythology, and I was obsessed, and I read all the stories, and I knew all the names of all the gods and the heroes and stuff. They're stories, and that's how I've always viewed all religious mythology, all religious scripture, no matter what religion. So to me, it's always been perplexing, even at a very young age. I'm talking about 6 years old, just going like, hang on, there's all these stories, but you think these ones are true? Why?
Right.
Why do you think that? I don't get it. Like it was so strange. Yeah. So that's my story.
Yeah, I know what it's like to do that, and like trying to explain it. Now that I left it, it's sacred to you. It's like politics for some. It's one of those hot button issues that, if your brother gets in a fight, no matter what, or let's use a better example, maybe a parent, because sometimes siblings fight, but a parent, like your dad says something at a supermarket and then he gets uppercut out of nowhere by someone. Your dad did no wrong. Like, I don't care what he did. It doesn't matter. He is right. And that's your dad. And you defend them. It's like almost in the blood. It's instinctual. And that seems to be what like religion seemed to be for me. So then I started to exit. I started to see comparative. Why am I treating this special? Why is there special pleading for Christianity versus all these other mythologies like you talk about? Especially when I now found what looks like mythology in Christianity. And I mean, like when I say Christianity, in its foundational text, including the Hebrew Bible, the New Testament. And then I started.
I would refer to it as Christian mythology. That's how I would refer to it as. Yeah.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's one of those things that I started to escape, and then I looked at the world, and for a while as I was transitioning out of Christianity, I was considering like maybe God is everything. And maybe all of these religions, right? This was my woo-woo thinking. Trust me, you do some woo-woo videos where you deal with that as well. I was into the whole like everything's energy, maybe, or like, you know, using those languages that you kind of jab at, like, no, stop.
Well, everything is energy. That's not even a wrong statement. So I mean, you can say that, and
yeah, but
everything is God. I mean, you know, whatever. That's just a spiritual perspective. It's
just
harmless.
I'm using a word, right? A term that has baggage, and I'm applying it over as though this is a conscious thing. Like energy itself is consciousness, and everything is consciousness. It started to become pantheistic, and then of course there I go carrying the term consciousness. See, and that may have who you talking to. What do you mean when you say consciousness? So we're talking over kind of in philosophy, but I was like, I'm not a philosophically literate person, whereas if I've read the philosophies of the world, but I was looking for answers, and I didn't want vague, I like the narrative, I like the idea, and that's it, like a floating cloud idea in my mind. I wanted principle methodology that I could deal with, that could show me maybe some answers that I didn't know before, and solving those. Like, did Paul really see a resurrected Jesus? Right? If we grant that he saw something or experienced something, is that really miraculous? Or does the natural world account for people seeing things maybe they want to see, or maybe that they're primed to see? And there you go with a more, what I like to say, a simpler answer that actually makes logical sense that we use every day.
Yeah. Well, the simplest answer is that did not happen. I mean, the simplest answer is that these are old myths. The myth of the virgin birth and the myth of the resurrection, these are recycled. Christian mythology is plagiarized from older religions, almost top to bottom. There's not really much original in there. So the simplest answer is that's a story, and it didn't happen. You know, well, Neo got resurrected too, right? We don't have a religion about Neo in the Matrix.
I see what you're saying, but I mean, Paul's letters seem to be from an actual guy, and that's not what I was bringing you on here for, because it's not even your field, right? Like New Testament criticism and stuff. However, I just wanted to point out, like, if a guy named Paul actually experienced something, people experience stuff all the time. Are they really abducted by aliens? Are they really seeing leprechauns? Or is there natural phenomena to explain these experiences that people have? Which means we grant that they experience something, right? We're not trying to say you're a bullshitter, but at the same time, some people might be. Yeah. I'm not even denying that.
They mostly are, but
right.
You know, the mind is powerful. The mind you can see things that aren't there if you really want to see them. So yeah, that happens.
That's the point. So like slapping this over to you, I'm looking for natural answers, because I go to the hospital, they do a scan on me, they find out I have cancer. They're not wondering, did you go near a Ouija board, or is Satan after you? Like, none of the crap that you would think superstitious, answers would be. They'd go, hold on, let's look at his blood. Let's check and see if he has any genetic dispositions. It's all natural.
Yeah.
This is the world we play with.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me. Something occurred to me hearing you talk a little bit just now, that when you are brought up from birth with sort of a top-down mentality, right? Infinite knowledge and power, bequeathing that which is below, and that's sort of ingrained in you. When you are moving away from your belief system, that top-down mentality might have lingering effects. And I think that's why you were looking for, I need answers, I need overarching structure, I need that thing above me. If it's not the Christian God, what am I going to call it? The universe is a God, or whatever. You were trying, you had a hole above you, right? And that's foreign to me, because I've never known anything but a bottom-up way of thinking. Right. So obviously, with cosmology and physics and all these sciences and biochemistry and everything, we have a pretty good picture of how a bottom-up existence for the universe went. We don't have everything. So, obviously creationists like to go, well, you don't know how the universe began. It's like, all right. Yes. Okay. I don't. But, we have a lot of it mapped out. Right. Cosmology is a vibrant field, and it's very complex. And there's a lot, we astronomy and astrophysics are great fields, and so when you look at it bottom up and you start to fill in the gaps, I have a modest understanding of astrophysics and planetary science and chemistry and biology and everything. And you sort of just see this line going from a singularity to stars, to planetary systems, to molecules, to rudimentary life forms, to complex life forms, all the way up to consciousness in us. I don't have, I'm not an expert in all those fields. I don't have all the information, obviously, but it's, it looks pretty good to me. And so I don't need anything above that. And that doesn't mean that we know everything. And then, you go into the hospital for the scan, and once in a while they go, man, I'm sorry, we just don't know what's wrong with you. Shoot, this is perplexing. This is a new thing. We don't know. So yeah, we don't know everything. And I think that bothers people. A lot of people are very unsettled by the unknown. People like to label things and answer questions, even if the answer is empty and meaningless. They like a placeholder. And that's why the God of the Gaps has persisted for so long, even though it has almost nowhere left to live. But for me, naturalism is very easy. I mean, I'm not a philosophy scholar, so I don't even throw around these terms very much.
Right.
But I read the definition of naturalism and thought, okay, yeah, I am that. I agree with that. To me, I don't believe in the existence of anything supernatural, and I think everything is explicable naturally, even if we don't yet know it. Right. I mean, obviously, there was a time when we understood nothing. And so volcanoes were gods, and the sun is a god, and God makes it rain, and all, and that's why, polytheism kind of made sense actually back then. Actually, a little more sense than monotheism, because you get to go like, why do bad things happen? Well, there's lots of gods, and some are on their side, and some are on my side, and so I better make sacrifices to all the gods. And so when I go to war, all the gods want me to win, stuff like that. And then that slowly evolved into monotheism, which was a big shift, obviously. But yeah, theism, I think, is not terribly defensible. I think deism is defensible. If you want to look at the entire edifice of science and go all the way back to the initial singularity and say God did that, all right, I don't care. That's fine.
It's
with me.
unfalsifiable, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And it doesn't bother me in the slightest. It's a completely unoffensive belief. And I disagree, but also without too much basis, because I do not know how the universe began. But theism, the idea that there's this God and you pray to the God and you go, please, I want to get my job. I had an interview. I want my job, or that whatever trivialities we're going through, that the idea that there's some omnipotent entity that is like, okay, yes, I'll give you that. And then, oh, no, I don't like you. You're naughty. I'm going to not let you have the thing you want. It's like, this is so infantile. I mean, it's the way small children behave and view the world. And I feel like a portion of humanity is stuck in this very infantile way of thinking, and I would like it if we could progress to at least an adolescence where we can start to take responsibility for ourselves and the world around us.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm tracking what you're putting down, and and I can appreciate people who have particular worldviews. I have nothing against people who want to believe that there's something, and they might look at things like mathematics. They look at this stuff and they go, "This just is so inexplicable to explain why we're here at all." I think something's there, and I have nothing wrong with that. I think it's
doesn't bother me. Yeah.
For me, it's the fundamentalist that we're dealing with that are most shocking. And let me bring up an interesting point. You had this engagement with James Tour, and people are like, you need to get him on your channel. First of all, I'm not a chemist. So it'd be a simple interview of saying, why are you convinced of your position? And the one question I'd have for him, that maybe you've watched his stuff and have an idea of what he says. I don't know, because
unfortunately I watched all of his stuff. I had to multiple times. Painful.
Well, when he says, all right, all living organisms, if you will, is made up of, what does he call it? Something,
the building blocks of the building blocks. I don't know.
Something of chemistry in that little 20-minute where he's saying, look, this is all synthetic. He's a synthetic chemistry or something like this, organic chemistry. When he's arguing that there's no way abiogenesis can happen, right? Like, he's just none of the arguments, none of the science, right? All his, you've heard it, you know it. I'm repeating and preaching to the choir here. My point is, when he's saying all that, what is he saying is the solution? Because while he's saying we don't know, we don't have, has
God
he
and
gave
Jesus and I mean, come on, it doesn't take a Freud to know what he's saying. He's spewing. He's saying something very dogmatic Science can never know this. And in fact, he has this several minute spiel where he says, graduate students, don't go into origin of life research. It's a dead end. It's a waste of time. You're never going to find. It's like, dude, how more transparently can you be showing your indoctrination here? I mean, it's very obvious. He believes that God made humans, Adam and Eve, dust in a rib. Like, that's his belief system.
Right.
And so he hides behind science and pretends this is not about religion. This is about science. No, it's not, because you're ignoring the science and you're yelling at people on YouTube instead of publishing.
Welcome to Professor Dave Explains. I'm Dave, and
Google Fi, a phone plan by Google. Get Simply Unlimited, our most affordable unlimited plan starting at just $20 a month per line. It comes with unlimited calls and texts, plus 35 gigabytes of high-speed data.
Hey everyone, so you may remember the 10 challenges I offered to flat earthers a couple of months ago, and it's been very amusing watching them run around like chickens with their heads cut off, making pathetic response videos where they puff up their chests and bark at each other for hours without actually responding to any of the challenges. Memorizing the names of logical fallacies and shouting them at random sure seems like a lot of fun, but it's not a working map or
We're live.
Okay, we are live. Okay.
Same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, wow, this. So
We are live.
Yes.
All right, we're back.
And at that time, a lot of it.
The ancient Egyptians understood that they could use sound to reduce their weight and the
We're live.
Okay, we are live. Okay, that's better.
What's happening? What's happening? We are live.
Yes, yes.
Let's see what's going on in the chat.
What's up, doe? What up, doe? I just posted some stuff on Instagram. Hopefully that drives some people in here.
Yeah.
It's a random pop-up podcast that we're doing. We usually do Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern, but we had to biohack our sex lives. Like
We had to biohack the best life and the sex life. That's my new song.
That's your new song?
Yeah.
Sing it again. No, for real. Let me hear it one more time.
Okay.
Come on.
I'll sing it to you later.
Okay. I take it.
Hey, what's happening?
What's good? What's good? We
Dana
are...
Omega, be bold.
Yes.
Be
yes,
bold. I'm
yes.
sorry.
Be bold.
Raw.
Be bold.
Pop Bo B.
Like that.
Welcome to Biohack Your Best Life.
Yes, yes. Another episode of Biohack Your Best Life.
What's
Greetings from the Netherlands. Wow.
Queen Alpha in the house.
What up? What up? What's good? What's good?
Let me tell you about Queen Alpha. Now, I know there's a lot of people on here that have been supporting since the very beginning, but I remember that Queen Alpha has been following Forbidden Knowledge since like 2013.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
From the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
That's what's up.
Yeah, she's been following my account for a decade, basically.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a real supporter. That's
Yeah,
a
it
real
is.
world supporter. She's been
Yeah,
in
it is.
workshops, classes.
Yeah.
She's attended everything we can do. She's on your podcast. She's on my podcast.
I love it.
Very,
Thank
very
you.
good
Thank
supporter.
you.
So
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you. Yes.
Appreciate it.
you, Queen Alpha. Thank you.
Appreciate
And everyone
it.
else too. Don't think I
Mhm.
didn't see everybody else that's been here and supporting for years. We really appreciate you guys.
Mhm.
I just know popping out, I remember when from a very long time ago, supporting in music, resharing our music, resharing in stories. And when Donnie RK first got signed to my label and, helping to promote his music and everything else, just on the love, I really appreciate it. And a lot of you guys here have done it as well.
Mhm.
But I just wanted to give a special shout out because I know for a decade of consistency,
Wow.
Queen
Mhm.
Alpha has been in the house. So I appreciate you.
That's amazing. I see some regulars in here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For sure, for sure.
There's a
What up,
lot.
though, to our regulars? I see you guys.
Yeah, see them all.
Yes,
of them.
yes. Yeah. Well, let's dive right in because we
Yeah.
got dinner reservations.
Yeah.
So, we actually are at the Ritz right now.
Yes, we're at the Ritz Carlton having a good talk, having a good day. We saw the air show.
Yes, so exciting. Oh my God, it was so exciting.
Yeah.
I'm still tripping about it. I got to
Yeah.
see a sonic boom. I've never seen that before. It looks
Mhm.
so trippy.
Yeah,
It looks so trippy. It looked like it was about to phase in and out of like this dimension. That's what it
Yeah.
looked like.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you see that, there was the F-22 Raptor. That was the first one you
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah.
F-22 Raptor. It broke the sound barrier. I think it went probably at least
Crazy.
Mach 3 right in front of us.
Crazy.
And she saw the sound barrier being broken 3 times.
Man, amazing. Like that, it really tripped me out. It really blew my brain up because it made me try to figure out what type of thing this is, right?
Right.
What are we in right now?
Yeah.
How is this even a thing?
Yeah.
Because if that can cause that look, I
Mhm.
mean, you guys should look up a sonic boom or go to my story. Actually, go to my story. You can
Yeah, it's in
watch
your
the
story on
sonic.
Instagram.
You can watch the sonic boom. I was
Yeah.
tripped out.
Yeah, it's pretty
Too
cool.
crazy. Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
cool stuff. Yeah.
This dude, I'm so maybe I went with you. You over there, that's a F580. That's a Seahawk 20. That over there is a 419 25 46 Titanic. I'm like, whoa, what? even the guy, even our waiter guy was like, how do you know all this stuff? It's crazy.
I know a few things.
Yeah.
But I've been studying aerospace since elementary school.
Mhm.
Started in the Encyclopedia Britannicas, and so I know today we saw the F-16, we saw the F-18, we saw F-22, and I was hoping for a C-17 that didn't fly over today, but we'll probably see a C-17 probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just the Blue Angels.
Oh yeah.
A lot of stunt planes.
Oh my God, we saw a helicopter go straight up and straight down.
Yeah.
My
It did a
mind is
360.
blown.
It did a 360 loop.
Yeah, went upside down, and you would think that the
rotor.
they would create some sort of vortex
Yeah.
to make the helicopter just, you know.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, stunt helicopter went 360 on us. It's actually a military tactical helicopter, which made it more interesting. But the one you see when you see the C-17 tomorrow, the C-17 can carry tanks and even carry planes.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's how big.
Yeah,
it
you
is.
said tanks. I was like, wait a second, what? What'd you say? He said tanks.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, pretty amazing stuff out here these days. And that's not even like what's really out there. We're seeing the 20-year version of what was made 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's the
Or
ancient
longer,
stuff.
right.
That's the ancient
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
They didn't bring out the TR-3B today. They'll bring it up. Maybe
Yeah.
30 years
You
from now.
hear this guy? He didn't bring out the TR-347B. What? Okay. And then I'm asking about a cruise ship, and he's like, "Oh, well, they have these da-da-das underneath the thing when it sinks to the level of this."
The
And then
ballast tanks.
I'm like, "Yo, you
They
learn
have
all
too much
this
weight on
stuff."
one side. I know a few things. That's what they call me forbidden knowledge. My
Yeah.
brain, whenever I study something, my brain never forgets it.
Yeah, I know. That's
So,
too crazy.
Everything is just in there.
It's in there. Yeah, that's great though.
Yeah.
I mean, usually people, a specific subject, like me, for instance, I love the body and physiology and biology and anything like that. But it's like in a lane, I mean, I have certain lanes that I have a lot of knowledge in, but it's like you have all the knowledge. You got all the answers over here. You got the psychic answers. He'd be like, someone's coming to the door. Ding dong. I'm like, what?
Don't tell them everything.
Okay. You about to be they about to call you some sort of
Yeah, no, don't tell them.
Yeah. Okay, we need to dive
But anyway, let's get into the talk.
Yes.
All
So we are talking today about toxic women, because I don't really think we talk or anybody talks enough about toxic women, and I'm not trying to put women down. I am a woman. I love women. I always want to support women.
Yeah.
But we women, I don't know, we need to do a little better, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of us. I mean, a lot of us are doing just fine, but I mean, there's the other half. And we wanted to bring this up because of everything that's going on in the news. I mean, it's just too crazy.
It's wild. It's
with
crazy.
this.
But it's almost like it's a shock.
Yeah, right.
And-
Like, oh my God, it's them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, being in a toxic person for 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
and that was extremely, extremely toxic and narcissistic psychopath. And by the way, for anybody who's just joining us, we cover and we talk about balance between men and women. We talk about
we do.
men. We had a whole podcast
We
about
did.
men and
We did.
cleanliness and everything else.
Yeah.
Stink scrotum. We go in. We go in over here. But today's talk is about toxic women, because there are a lot of toxic women out there, and
These are the Simons. This is their idea of going all in.
guys take the blame for a lot of stuff. And do are guys doing and creating a lot of problems in relationships? Yes, we're admitting that. But today's talk is about toxic women, and the fact that there are a lot of good men out there, believe it or not, and there are a lot of toxic women that are tearing down good men in ways that make them slap people.
Yeah.
And ways that they tear men down with making a lot of false claims. And you see the other one in the news right now with the actor where luckily he recorded the conversation.
I know.
When she set him up.
Because look, this is what happened. So I'm even guilty of this, right? I'm in the gym, I'm working out. I think I was even talking to you, and I'm like, this Johnny Depp, he's on drugs, and there's pictures, and he threw a bottle at this lady and cut her finger off or something. I'm like, man, this is terrible. And I'm thinking Johnny Depp is just the wrong person in this whole situation. Come to find out, it was her.
It's her.
But my assumption immediately jumped to it was him.
Because, for example, if a woman hits me, and I've been in an abusive relationship before, as you know, where I was actually hit and I had to walk away because if you snap, it's over, right? Because why? Because if I call the police or authorities and say, hey, I'm getting abused, they're going to laugh at me because I'm 6'4", 215 pounds. And so it's like, are you kidding me? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But this happens a lot, guys. This happens a lot. And there's a lot of situations out there where the women are getting away with literally with murder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me tell you about a toxic situation that's not exactly a relationship. So I had a stalker. Okay. And this person was stalking me for about a year. And still from time to time sends letters. And actually an older woman, some of the people who came to my last Manifest Destiny workshop where I did it in person before the sickness happened on the planet, we used to do them in person. And this person was a person that attended. This woman was a person that attended that last one that I did. And in some weird way became a fatal attraction. I had to actually file a restraining order against this lady. She was showing up to all of my events.
Crazy.
Trying to check into my hotel rooms. She would, I was at a charity basketball event. I'm on the basketball court talking to like celebrities. She taps me on the shoulder and goes, I'm coming to everything you're at. And of course I turned this lady down. I'm not interested in this woman at all, but she started sending death threats, and so forth and so on. Now, long story short, I filed this restraining order, and they haven't been able to serve the lady. This is a while back. And they finally, I saw the lady walking down the street in this area where I go doing my walks a lot, because she started trying to stalk me over there. She even brought a gun to the place where she thought I would be at and pulled it out. Crazy.
Really crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I called the police and I'm like, here's the lady right here. You guys need to serve her. I got the packet from the courthouse with me. You need to serve her so she can be officially served for this restraining order. And they're taking information from me, and the lady's going, is your name such and such? I'm like, no, I'm Billy Carson. Oh, that's the other restraining order she has. So obviously this lady's got multiple restraining orders, and she's stalking, man, and doing all this toxic stuff. And when she gets rejected, she becomes very aggressive and nasty. But this kind of stuff, what's interesting about it, when the cops came, they almost started attacking me.
Oh, obvious. Yeah, they would. They would. Because
I was in the wrong.
She's an older woman. You would never assume an older woman would be out here trying to, stalk and kill somebody and eat their organs.
I said to the cop, she wanted to shoot me in the head and eat my organs. Yeah. I told the cop, I said, listen, do you have kids and a family and everything else at home? It was a female cop too.
Yeah.
I said, if somebody sent you an email, and I showed her the email that this lady sent. I said, somebody sent you an email like this and told you they were going to shoot your kids too and everything else, which was in the email. Would you accept this and just go, that's just an older lady, just ignore the email? Or would you try to do something about it to secure your family's safety? And so the point I'm making here is that jump to the gun mentality of it's always the guy, not the woman. That's what happened to me in that situation. And this is a big problem we have.
Yeah. Well, really, it's really sad, to be honest, because all it is mental health issues.
Yeah.
It's mental health issues. If someone hauls off, I saw somebody on here that said they hit their husband when they feel really bad about it, but they found out that he had an affair.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's understandable, because if you have and are filled up with all types of trauma and stress and anxiety and depression, and you've never dealt with any of that stuff, your body keeps the score of everything, all of it. So you're stuffing, and then something comes up, you're triggered, boom, you lose consciousness, and you haul off and hit somebody. I mean, people snap. You got that show called Snapped, people snap. And especially within romantic relationships, emotions are so heightened. When people get triggered, it can be really scary if you don't deal with your stuff, if you're not mentally balanced, because you can lose it.
Oh, in 1
and
second.
people lose it.
You literally,
At Mint Mobile, we're always looking for innovative ways to save you money, so you can keep paying $15 a month for premium wireless. That's why instead
you literally lose complete control.
Yes.
That's what they call, you have that insanity plea in court.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a true thing.
It's super true.
It's a real thing.
And then it could also be brain function. It could be in your physiology. Something could be just a little bit off, causing you to act in a way that isn't great, you know? So it's
There's
just
a lot of stuff. Well,
yeah.
if you have a malformed frontal lobe or a frontal lobe that becomes damaged by a head injury, right? Frontal lobe, you'll be very difficult to stop yourself from acting out your thought.
Yes.
If your thought is to curse, you're going to curse. If your thought is to attack, you're going to attack. Whatever your thought is, a lot of people, they did a study on like serial killers, and they found that their frontal lobe was
off because you don't have any logic there. There's no consciousness. You're really just reacting.
Right.
You're going back to your old old brain back in the day when you're just literally reacting to everything that's going on. So you have no consciousness. So I mean, brain function is a mofo. Brain function is a mofo. Dr. Amen had a niece or something, or a nephew, and I guess he was 9 years old. He walked onto this soccer field and punched the girl for no reason, and then he was drawing pictures of killing himself and killing people.
Wow.
And so he met with his nephew, gave him a functional brain scan, a SPECT scan, and found out that he had a huge tumor on the left side of his frontal lobe.
Damn.
Once they took the tumor out, the kid was super normal.
Wow.
Normal.
That's crazy.
I know. And can you imagine how many people that are locked up right now that have probably have some sort of brain trauma, you know?
Brain trauma, tumors, and cysts, and all kind of other things going on.
Yes.
A lot, but and there's some women that that find that when they can manipulate the person, the other person in their relationship, whether it's a man or a woman they're with, they seize those opportunities and they get some type of personal satisfaction. Off of it.
Right.
Which is like Johnny Depp's wife. I think she was getting a lot of, from listening to her voice on the recording, she was getting a level of personal satisfaction and knowing that he would be the one getting blamed and not her because he was the man.
Yeah.
Things like that. Or you look at, Jada Pinkett Smith, and you look at the situation there. If you look at the track record of her narcissism,
that lady.
And I love Jaden. I mean, I've done stuff for Jaden, and I've helped him with stuff, and God bless the kid. I hope he does phenomenal things. He's a great person, but his mother's a narcissistic psychopath with a touch of schizophrenia. It's just a fact.
She's one of the worst women that I cannot believe her actions. I can't. I can't. And I'm not saying that Will Smith is wrong or right or anything. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that her actions, I mean, what?
Well, if you look at the track record is didn't want to get married, got married, and called the wedding a crappy wedding. Still was in love with Tupac, made it well known publicly. Even though Tupac was already dead.
I know.
Her daughter writes a letter to Tupac, wanting Tupac to come be with them and live with them and make his mother happy, even though Tupac is dead. And uploads the letter to the internet, public again. Goes public with all this red table talk about the entanglement.
I just wanted to
Jada's
feel
friend,
good.
Right?
And she told him, I just wanted to feel like, and he sat there and he still supported her.
He
still supported her.
Told him that it's not even I don't even think it's a transgression.
Yeah.
And so this is but this is a toxic person that is manipulating a man that's really a simp, unfortunately. And so his willingness to be that to love her that much is his weakness, because she sees that and she actually bends and molds it, but she's really actually jealous of him and wants more limelight on her, which is why as soon as it happened, she started making a lot more public appearances and things like that, because the attention was on her.
Right, exactly.
She wants to draw the attention away from him and put the limelight on her. That's a toxic woman that will get away with a lot of things that's going on behind the scenes. Will Smith now takes the blame for that slap, which it was an unconscious situation. He's gone through so many issues with her before. He's had to deal with a joke that happened before with Chris Rock. And he didn't do anything about it. Probably didn't even call him. Probably got tortured for 2 months, mentally by her for that. And now this happens again. He laughs, she rolls her eyes. He then wants to figure out, what can I do now that I can survive the next 2 months without getting trials and tribulations from this woman over this joke. I know what I'll do. And he runs up on the stage unconsciously and smacks him, thinking that's going to win her over. That's going to make her see who I am. But it backfired. And once again, the man took the
all of it.
All of
Yeah,
it.
I
And
mean,
she's running around doing
right.
photo shoots and doing modeling shoots and everything else.
Yes.
It's pretty interesting.
That's too crazy.
Yeah.
Too crazy. But what's even more interesting is that you can see the generational curses. Because she was sitting down with her mom, right? You told me this.
Yeah.
She was sitting down with her mom, and they were talking about her mom taught her how to masturbate when she was 9 years old or something.
Yeah. And her mom told her that you do this and learn how to do this so that you understand that you're giving yourself the pleasure, not the man.
Not the man.
The man never gives you pleasure. And so if you're having sex with a man, then it's not him that's pleasuring you, it's you that's pleasuring you.
Do you know what's so crazy about that?
At
She's
9
years old.
And
9
so
years
that
old.
started the narcissistic mindset and the toxic mindset from the very beginning.
Yes. So I mean that generational there.
Wow.
It's generational. She was brought up that way. So that's what made her the way she is.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
she's one of the worst. Man,
Yeah.
that whole thing is just.
And we're going to talk about some solutions in this. We're just kind of going over the concept, the idea of it. I've seen growing up. I grew up, in two cities primarily. One is Opelika, and then later on, when I was able to be fortunate enough to win that $30,000 for a house, we moved to Miami Norland, which was a slightly better neighborhood, more lower middle class, which is way better than where we came from. However, in both cities, I saw the same identical thing. Some of the mothers, not all of them, some of them were extremely loud, cursing out the kids, talking about how they would smack the kid into next week and curse you out to come in the house, and everything was so loud and obnoxious and just over the top. But then with some of them, when I had, made friends with these kids, and then their grandmother would be in town or be over, the grandmother was doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, wow, so in my brain, I'm like, oh, this got handed from the grandmother to the mother. Now the mother's doing it to the kid and the daughter, the son and the daughter. And typically what I saw, if there was a daughter, a sister, the sister was also starting the same behavior. They had made this behavior normalized. And so this loud, obnoxious, outrageous, disgusting mindset of how to treat people and treat mostly the boys or the men in their life was being carried down from generation to generation and being accepted as this is normal.
Wow.
The husband would be sitting there or whatever, not even saying anything, almost like this is actually normal behavior. In the toxic relationship that I was in, the mother was also domineering and toxic and would say the most obnoxious things to people. And so I saw that again handed down. So it's a thing that, we're just addressing it.
Yeah.
But, we're going to talk about some things that people can do if you feel like you're in that situation, or you start to analyze yourself and realize I might be that way or getting that way or somewhat that way.
Yeah, you might be toxic and not even know that you're toxic too.
Yeah.
I mean, but let's just say this one thing. Hurt people hurt people.
True.
Hurt people hurt people. That's it.